she had been pouring into other people, there was something that she was missing. There was something that wasn't right. And so she finally figured that even though she had 4 children, even though she had a husband, even though she had people that loved her, there was something in her that told her that she didn't need to be on this earth anymore, that there was nothing else that she could contribute to anyone. And so, she attempted suicide. And, her husband, he was supposed to be at work that night. He happened to come home and find her lifeless. And he called 911. He did CPR until the ambulance got there. She was within an inch of her life when the ambulance got there. When she got to the hospital, she was upset when she woke up. She was upset because that was another failure that she had. There was another thing that she didn't accomplish. And so for 2 weeks, she was still suicidal, to the point where her husband put her in a mental institute, because he said, well, you may divorce me, our marriage might be over, but you're going to live. You're going to live. And so he put her in a mental institute. And so, she was mad again, right? And so, but during that time, she really started looking at, the things that were going on in her life. And that's when I really started pouring into this woman. I really started, letting her know that her life made a difference, that she did contribute to a lot of people. And, I just started pouring into this woman and praying over this woman. And the more that I prayed over this woman and poured into this woman, she began to realize who she was and what kind of contributions that she had to others. And because I began pouring into this woman and praying over this woman has the amazing opportunity to be before you today, to tell her story, to tell my story. Because even though all these things happened to me, there came a point in my life where I had to step back and reevaluate where I was. And I'm here today. I'm here today to tell my story. And I'm hoping that by me telling my story, which it took me years and years to do, I just turned 39 years old, and it took me a long time to be able to tell my story. But I know that my story it's my story, but I know that that story belongs to a lot of people that may be on the verge of deciding that this is their last chance. This is their last try at anything. And so I'm here to tell you that whatever you do, don't give up. As long as you have breath in your body, you have the ability to be whatever you want to be. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you about, some of the things that I did in order to get to this point, which is still a growing phase. Nobody ever gets to the point where they arrive, right? You never get to the point where you know it all, that, everything is perfect. So it's a daily journey for me, for you, for anyone. But some of the keys that I did use to basically help me along that journey was, number one, self-reflection. Okay, so one of the things that I really had to do, and that I train my clients to do, is that you can't help anyone. Even though I was really good at, or I felt like I was good at helping other people, I really couldn't help them at the potential that I really wanted to help them, because I was at a point where I couldn't help myself, right? And so, the more that you self-reflect on yourself, and when I say self-reflect, basically, I'm not talking about, throwing yourself a pity party, or, looking at your past or your circumstances and, becoming even more depressed. Self-reflection is basically the ability to give your circumstances serious thought. Really think about what has happened in your life, how you handle certain situations, but to think of it in a way that will help you to grow, right? Not to weaken you, but to help you to grow. So when you start going into self-reflection, when you start looking at things that have happened to you, go into it with a mindset that um, you're going to use it to grow, right, and not to hinder you. Start with that mindset that when I start looking at all the things that has happened in my life, I'm going to use it as an opportunity to excel into the person I'm supposed to be. Okay, so when you start doing self-reflection, basically, you start thinking about the event, right, or the circumstance that happened to you. You start looking at, all the people involved, how everything happened, right? really start looking at it, because that's one of the things that really burdened me. Because of the things that happened in my childhood, and I was the oldest of four, so I had to really suppress a lot of the things that I was going through, because I felt like I had to be strong for my siblings, right? So there was a whole lot of things that I basically buried, or I thought I buried, right? That actually ended up coming up later on in life. So, the best thing to do with any type of situation is meet it head on, no matter what. And really, take self-reflection and really analyze exactly what it is that you've been through. Okay. And then the second one that I would say is, self-acceptance. Be able to, once you reflect on it and you really understand, or you have a grasp of what happened, then start accepting it, right? Because your story is not all of the good things that happen to you. Nobody's perfect, and nobody wants to be around a perfect person. Your story and your purpose, your passion comes from everything about you, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. So you have to start accepting everything in your life that has happened, because everything that has happened in your life serves a purpose. You may not understand what that purpose is, but it serves a purpose. And so, you have to basically, one of the things about self-acceptance is you have to learn how to forgive, right? That was my biggest thing. I was looking at people in my past that have done me wrong. My father, different people in my life, right? Um, and then, even myself, I looked at myself and said, oh, well, you were smarter than that, Starlin. Why did you make that decision? Why did you choose that person? Why did you choose that experience? You know better than that. You've been through it. Why would you let your children see you go through that? So I dealt with a lot of guilt, right? So one of the things with self-acceptance is you have to learn how to forgive others, and you have to learn how to forgive yourself. And the biggest example that I can think of is when I think of Jesus Christ. You know, when he was dying on that cross, he could have yelled out to God and said, God, why me? I'm the only person that's ever been on this earth that has never committed one sin. Why am I on this cross suffering? Why do I have these people ridiculing me and mocking me? Why do I have to go through this? But the words that came out of his mouth was, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So if he can do it, and he was without sin, who am I not to give forgiveness? And it's not easy. It's not going to be easy. It's not meant to be easy, but it's liberating. It's liberating, and it's needed. If you want to get over anything in life, you have to know how to forgive. You have to learn how to forgive. It it doesn't take away from what that person has done to you. It doesn't take away the fact that they've done you wrong, or that they've hurt you, but it liberates you, because now you're not allowing that person or that situation to continue to allow you to be a victim. So that's the importance of forgiveness and self-acceptance. Okay. Um, and just know that, anything that you deal with in life, you may go through that, but that doesn't define you. It doesn't make you who you are. You still have an opportunity to grow and to become the person that you were meant to be, that you were destined to be. Okay. And another one that it kind of goes in with self-acceptance is self-validation, right? Because that's one of the things that I went through a lot in life, was that I felt like I had to have the acceptance of other people, or the validation of other people. Even though I knew that I could make good decisions, it's like I would always second guess myself. I would always have to ask somebody, is this right? Does this seem right? You know, and I don't know if you've ever had this situation, but there's been plenty of times where I know that it's something that I should do, or um, something that I should be involved in, and then someone will tell me, no, I don't think that you should do that, and then you don't do it, and it turns out being something that you actually should have done, right? And so, you never want to be to the point where you allow other people or other situations to, you know, define who you are, validate, what you should do. Always be responsible at the end of the day. Now, I'm not saying that You can't take advice from people, because I do have people that, mentor me and different things that I really value their opinion. But at the end of the day, the final decision comes from Starling, and the final decision should come from you. Okay. So anything that you do, you take ownership for that. No matter what it is, you take ownership for it. You validate that. Okay. So that's something that's also very important. And then, once you start doing that, once you go through your self-reflection and your self-acceptance, validation, then it's time for self-growth. Okay. You need to start looking for different things in your life that can propel you into what you need to be. um, just kind of give you an example. Once I started going through um, my self-discovery of who I was and who I really was, right? Because all my life I thought that I knew who I was, but I didn't, because there were certain parts of me that I didn't want to accept, and so I never really knew who I was. But one thing that I started to do as far as self growth was I started reading a lot of books, self help books. I got counseling. I actually went to a counselor. That's something that I had a hard time doing in life, was talking to other people about what was going on in my life. And so, I saw counseling. Um, I got mentors. I went to seminars. So there's something that you can do to grow yourself, and to elevate yourself, um, in a way that will help you to get to where you need to be, right? And one of the things about self growth is it helps you to not be so impulsive. It helps you to, make good decisions, about things. But one thing that I always tell people about self growth is to give yourself the permission to make a mistake. So even when you're in your growing process, if you have a fallback or a minor setback, that's not, your final failure. That's not something where you should say, oh, well, I tried this and I tried that. Now, I did this and now I just took 2 steps backwards. Life is a learning process. It's something that you're going to continue to do. So even along your journey, even along my journey, anybody's journey, you're going to make mistakes, right? You're going to have minor setbacks, but it's the way that you respond, to those different things that you go through. It's all about your response to different situations that will determine whether or not it's a complete failure or a learning experience. It's all up to you. Okay, you have the power to, determine that. Okay, so and one of the things that really touched my heart that I was thinking about, um, and it kind of goes into my next topic that I was talking about, that I want to talk about, and basically, and that's the last step, is that once you start going through all of that stuff and you start growing, you start really learning what your purpose is, then that's when it's the time to actually go through selfless contribution. Okay, so that means that everything that you've learned, you need to now try to figure out a way to help others with what you've been through. Okay, so mine was coaching and mentorship. Yours could be something totally different, but you did not go through what you went through in life just to keep it hidden. Not to contribute to someone that may be going through the same thing that you went through. It's just like if somebody gives you something very valuable, like a book, or something, they tell you, what, this has the opportunity to help hundreds, thousands, millions of people. It's just that valuable that it, it can just help so many people, and you decide to go put it in a safe or under a rock somewhere. What value is it going to be to anybody? And that's the same thing with your life is valuable. Your life is your life story could potentially help so many people that you don't even realize. You can't keep that to yourself. You have to find some type of way to give that back, if that makes sense, right? And one of the things that, one of my most favorite motivational speakers that I listen to often, uh, Les Brown, I'm pretty sure y'all heard of him. But there was a quote that he had made, and when I was going through that situation right after my suicide attempt, I was listening to I want to say it was a YouTube video, and he had made a comment. He said, you know what? The richest place on the earth is the cemetery, because that's where you'll find so many dreams that weren't fulfilled, so many books that were never written, so many inventions that were never invented. Don't let your dream in your the things that you've been through in life go to the grave with you. That's not what it's meant to be for. We were put here for a purpose, and that purpose was to be helpers one to another. And so you have to find some type of way to make sure that your story is, it can be an impact for others. So I didn't want to, go into a whole lot more, because I feel like that was, mainly what I really wanted to speak to you about. But just, I just, and, another thing that I was thinking about when it comes to selfless, and that's why I said selfless contribution, is because, you have to get to a point where when you contribute to others, it's no longer about yourself, right? When I really started thinking about, telling my story and different things like that, it frightened me. It frightens me still to this day, to tell my story, because there's a lot of people that know me that never knew my story, right? But that's the whole thing about it, is that, you know, it's not about me anymore. It's not about me, because there's somebody here. There's somebody that's watching this. I don't care if it's even one person, that they can say, you know what? I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna do what I need to do to turn my pain into my purpose. And that's my whole dream and my whole desire, is that if I can even just reach one person, that one person is worth every bit of fear that I have, every bit of self-doubt that I have. That one person is worth it. And so if you're out there, I pray that this message encouraged you. I pray that it strengthens you and it motivates you in some way. And so, if you want further information, I do have a giveaway where, I give away basically some books, self-help books that have really helped me, some free coaching sessions, a whole lot of different things that I really want to pour into you. So if you would be interested in learning more about, how to turn your pain into your pain into your purpose, then you can go to bit.ly/success with Starlin. Okay. Again, that's bit.ly/success with Starlin. And again, I just thank you for taking your time to listen. I hope that it touched someone. And I just encourage you to be blessed and to be motivated. Thank you so much.
Hello, I am Chanel Yarber of Bright Girl Media, and I am your brand and marketing maven. I am here today because I want to share with you about how to brand and market your business. Black women-owned businesses are launching by leaps and bounds. Women-owned businesses own more than 11.6 million companies, employ nearly 9 million people, and generate enough revenue to rival Canada's gross domestic product. According to the National Women's Business Council, Black women-owned businesses are up 67% from just 10 years ago. But we all know more than half of businesses launched fail within 3 to 5 years. And I believe that the reason that this happens is because of a failure to properly brand and market your business to the marketplace so that you can grow your clientele and so that you can thrive. So today, I'm going to share what branding is, how it solidifies your business, the top 10 ways many businesses fall short on marketing and branding, and the ways that you can properly fix them. So let's just dive right in. What is branding? Branding is consistent. It's making sure that your messaging is communicated intentionally through all channels. For instance, if we look at a brand that's nationally known like Chick-fil-A, anytime you see their logos, their fonts, their color, their communications, even their mascots with the cows, we know what to expect from Chick-fil-A. And when you go to their restaurants, you get the same service, you get the same experience every time you go. When you tell their clerks thank you, they respond with my pleasure. Whether you go to a Chick-fil-A here in the Dallas, Texas area, or you go to one in New Jersey or New York or Nevada. They're pleasant, they're fast, they make you feel like they really enjoy serving you. And that makes you want to go back to Chick-fil-A. Branding is also what people say about your business in your absence. It is their impression of you. So if we relate that to a cow brand, or if you're in a fraternity, a brand that you may have of your fraternal symbols on your arm, it's lasting. So you want to make the right impression the first time and every time. When customers refer other customers to you, they're communicating their impression and their interpretation of your brand to other people. So you want to make sure that your brand is lasting, it's sticky, and that it's intentional, because referrals are very important to growing a business. So I don't know if you knew, but referred customers, they convert 30% more leads that come from other channels than those that come from other channels. So people are 4 times more likely to buy from you when they're referred from a friend than if they find you on social media, or if they find you via commercial or